No mai, haere mai ki Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod, brought to you by Ashley and Martin Medical Care Centres. What a fun first weekend of the Rugby Championship that was. You know, we'll be breaking down how the Wallabies did that number on the Boks, how the All Blacks won big despite lacking a bit of cohesion, and what the results mean for the tournament and World Rugby. We have All Blacks open side Du'Plessis Kirifi on the show to talk about his long journey to being a Test open side and what he learnt along the way. Of course, the Women's World Cup kicks off this weekend in England, so we'll have a look at that and chat with Black Ferns co-captain Kennedy Tukuwafu about defending their title and what's changed since their 2022 victory. We have another Rugby Ready giveaway for a month of free training with All Blacks guru Dr. McGill's training team. We also have your emails and your comments, as well as the in-depth analysis you've come to expect from James Parsons and the Oracle, Bryn Hall. The Oracle. 2 weeks in a row, you said it. You said the Wallabies could take this.
Mate, and you doubled down too. You doubled down hard during the picks. And I said, I'll tip my cap, but I think you're a long way off. Well,
yeah,
hey,
thank you. I did watch The Matrix as well. Obviously, the Morpheus, the Oracle as well, just to be able to, you know, feed myself in terms of being able to be an Oracle. But no, look, I think, yeah, we'll touch on it. But
it's the call of the century.
Well, I did love seeing the post. I'm not going to lie. That was a great caption that you put in there as well, Ross. But yeah, look, I know I backed them, and I thought, look, we'll go into it. It was an unbelievable performance. Like 2 games of halves. But, geez, what a second half. Probably the best second half I've ever seen from an Australian team.
It was 63 minutes.
It was incredible to watch.
Yeah.
17 minutes of torture for Aussie fans.
Yeah, and for Bryn, that first 17
Well, I'll tell you what, I look back and I'm like, boys, I'm going to get it taken out of me. But then when Sia Khaleesi scores that try, I was almost ready to, like, man, it's early in the morning, but I was like, I'll stick at it. And thankfully, they came good for me. So, Josie, how good? How good for Australia.
Good.
And the Rugby Championship as well.
That's right. The comments section absolutely loved it after absolutely grilling you for the previous couple of weeks. And, of course, that is our Ashley and Martin turning point for the week, because the Wallabies, I suppose, backing up from the Lions and doing that in South Africa shows that this is a team that is right in there a few years out from a World Cup with plenty to prove. So let's start there, Jipper. How important is this for Australia to know that they can then back up the Lions series?
Yeah, look, I think it's massive, and it probably just shows how close they were. Like, maybe we didn't probably appreciate that the second test of the Lions and how important certain calls in that game were to deciding that, and then to go to South Africa. I mean, look, I have to eat humble pie. I gave them no chance, but it was, extremely impressive. The one concern I have about looking forward is, man, how important's Joe Schmidt and his departure going to be? It just seems like, you know, like if they could keep him round to a home Rugby World Cup, it would be, I think, massive. And it's nothing against Les Kiss, but like bring Les Kiss on the journey. But man, he's finally got the cut through you need to then remove him is a big...
Yeah, that ship sailed though, hasn't it?
It's sailed, but I mean, we're in the media, we like to spark things back up.
In saying that, every few years, Joe Schmidt says, no, I'm going to go back and I'm going to spend some time with my family, and then he gets a great offer and he goes somewhere else. So,
when he comes like as like a, what do they call it, like a director, comes back in some form of being able to with Les Kiss.
I don't like
that. But some way you've got to have him in there, like, because I agree, like, they've kind of just... They've found this little window now that they've kind of broken through the British and Irish Lions series, getting a win in South Africa. Like, yeah, I know obviously there's bigger reasons why he doesn't want to be with the Wallabies post this Rugby Championship. But yeah, I thought exactly the same thing. Like, how can we keep him around? Because it seems like they're on a trajectory of they're going up.
We.
The Oracle's jumped.
The Oracle's on the Wallabies bandwagon. Holy dooly.
I think for us, for Australia, somehow, Ross, if they can keep him, I'm not too sure if it's going to happen, but yeah, it seems like
it's not going to happen. But him leaving will leave a hole. If they back it up and then they have, results in the Bledisloe, you'd be crazy not to try and convince him to hang around.
Backing it up is going to be so hard because Rassi, and I mean, this is what he said, this is in quotation marks, he said it was dog shit.
Yep.
That's what he called the performance. Like, it's a hell of a thing to say. Well, he referred to it being embarrassing. Like, that's strong. Like, there's going to be a big bite back in their camp this week.
Yeah, and I think probably what he was probably referring to is the 6 tries. Like, because if you look at their attacking stats, like first 17 minutes, amazing. But even throughout the game, like where I think Australia won it was their defence in terms of the 4 breakdown turnovers all came in the 22. The conversion rate of South Africa is at 23%. So they had 13 visits. They got their 3 tries in the first 17 minutes, but after that it was 7 turnovers, 3 penalties conceded in the 22, an area where South Africa goes in there, they come away with points. Like, these are rare instances for them. And then I suppose the intercept and then the turnover ball tries. And that's what blew my mind, is it was like the hive out was nothing to the Wallabies. Like, their fitness was just superior, and they just, maybe the adrenaline, the fact that they were, you know, running away with the game got into them. But like, Harry Wilson had put in a massive shift. Then to score that try, like, you watch how quick he reacts. Like, he would be absolutely knackered. Quick to react, then goes the distance. It was just so impressive. But like, when you look at it statistically, I still can't work out how.
I think.
Do you know what I mean? I know, like, it's.
I think for me, what I saw is that in and around those stats, it's that the opportunities that they did have, they took advantage of it. So the 4 tries in that second half, you talk around the 2 click attacks with Tom Wright and then Harry Wilson's try, they nailed that and been able to execute it. And then you talk around at the intercept as well. And then there was another one in terms of the tip ball that Angus Bell gives for the very first try in the 42nd minute, and they just took their opportunity. So. And what that did, then it led to South Africa not going back to how they were able to set up that first 17 minutes. The contestable games with Grant Williams, they were really good in and around that first 17 minutes, getting contestables back. And what do? They only kicked 6 times in that second half, where they kicked 12. Now, that's a low number with the South African team, but it's what we've seen in the first part of this year, and this kind of new evolution of attack that they do have. So, yeah, I think just the efficiency of when they had their opportunities, the Australians took it. And so I agree with the stats. It's just they took the opportunities and were scored tries.
But it's even like they just didn't go away from the plan. Like, Harry Wilson goes on that tip ball early in the game and gets absolutely monstered. Like, I think it was Oosterhuizen and one of the loose forwards, and tip the height, draw, and then to go through that hole as they did after being monstered like that, rightly so, the South Africans thought, oh, well, they must be going out the back. But then to read that, and, you know, I just think they just had their plan. They were so dialed in, their kick strategy, their courage on attack to try and get that bridge pass to Joel. And how much they drew the South African defenders in field to allow that. And then I think the last line of defence they'd be disappointed with. Like, a couple of times defenders were beaten pretty easily. But yeah, it was just a courageous performance. And I don't mean it in a bad way when I say I can't work out how, but just to give you context, South Africa had 79% gain line, 75% lightning quick ball. They had 13 entry, like Australia had 16% dominant carries. Like, they didn't really, like, it was all off the back of defence and, you know, manipulating that rush D. It's just, it's just amazing how clinical they could be after that 17 minutes, I suppose.
And I think if we're looking in terms of like South Africa, because all those stats there, the amount of ball that they had to be able to, I guess, you know, ask a lot of questions of the Australians, it was the execution really at the end that really cost them. You know, so they got into the 22-metre zone, or even, you know, you look at Tom Wright's last try when he wins the game, they're pretty much on the front foot going forward, and then it's just kind of a turnover, and then they score a try off that. So it was a common trend in that second half that they were able to have opportunities, but a lot of mistakes. Apart from that first 17 minutes where they were able to hold on to the ball, win collisions, been able to get over the advantage line, they were able to execute at a better rate in that first 17 minutes. But the unforced errors was probably probably after that was tough.
And I mean, we have to acknowledge, you know, even though they had some struggles at scrum time, like, they kept the South African line out to 68%. They did hold their own and come back really well at scrum time, which isn't a pretty important facet. It was just a gritty, absolutely gritty, determined win. Like, almost the first 17 minutes didn't play into South Africa's hand, because a lot of the errors that came in the 22 or further out was like, it's just going to happen. And they were chancing around. Like, the intercept, that was never on. Like, Suoliti was in the line of sight, you know? So I just think, like, maybe that they were just like, we're just going to run over the top of them, and we will run away with it in the second half because of the altitude and so forth. But, man, credit to them, led by Harry Wilson. I just was so impressed by his willingness to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And he must have some engine, man. To score that runaway try, he must be seriously fit.
Well, he doesn't look seriously athletic, does he?
Yeah,
He's
I
a
know,
big boy, and he got going, and I was like, are they going to catch him?
Yeah.
Are they?
He just had enough gas in the tank to be able to get over the line. But also, Joe, I thought Nick Frost as well. He's becoming one of the best, probably, line-out, not just line-out specialists, but I think the way that he does play with best locks in the world. Like, I've been very, very impressed, I think, defensively in the line-out, especially against a South African line-out. But I've been really impressed with how he's been going this year as well.
Look, he's been strong. I think the big question mark, and they've got Skelton now, it's just when Skelton goes, they're a good 1-2 punch, and how they utilise each other. He is going to leave a fairly big hole, but we'll deal with that in coming weeks. But, look, this is going to give them confidence. It's just how they keep that momentum going.
But I think South Africa are going to come back with a bite. I think with Russie, that group, you've seen kind of Chase of the Sun, how he motivates that group, and
I think
they'll be hurting.
I think we'll see the front line. We will get an idea of who he sees as the front line 23.
Because
Conversation's over in terms of 3 deep and all this. Like, I think this week we will see what he thinks is their best side.
Because I even think after the interview of the game, they pretty much penciled in a team that they already named to play that following week. But then they've obviously said, we're going to have a little talk about it now collectively as a coaching group. To your point, Joe, I think we're going to see the best 23, a 6-2 split or even a 7-1.
Well, I mean, he referred to the fact that they had been out-coached, that they had gotten their own way and that they need to look at themselves before they look at the players because of the way that played out. I mean, that team came out on Monday, South Africa time. Like, teams are not named on a Monday. Teams are named in South Africa sometimes on a Tuesday. In New Zealand, they're named on a Thursday. It was a surprise to be like, hey, that's a confident thing to do, to throw a team out there on a Monday.
When I heard it as well that they knew before going into the game who was playing next week. Like, for me as a player, I'm thinking like, well, it doesn't matter how good I play, I'm not going to be playing next week. But obviously depending, do they might change it on the run? I don't know. But I was really interested to hear from Russie around they'd already picked the team for the following week,
I think
even before the game.
They almost have done it for the whole rugby championship.
It's obviously not something different.
What they do.
But they've over-revealed their hand to a degree there. It was interesting.
Well, Joe Schmidt is one of the smartest coaches in the world. I think this is his biggest coaching achievement. Like, in terms of where the Wallabies were in the world rankings, how everyone expected them to go in the Lions, how everyone expected them to go in South Africa. Like, he was amazing with Ireland and what he achieved there, and got them to world number 1. To me, this is a much bigger climb.
On the other hand, I think the thing that pointed out to me that I noticed that was just crazy was at the end, that 50-22 in the last minute or so said to me that the South Africans had just buttoned off. Like, it wasn't there. Like, that 50-22 was...
Well, they knew it was gone.
It was gone, and they turned off, and I think that's what has Russie so pissed. Not that particular moment, but moments like that where it was pretty clear that they put their heads down and they weren't playing for what they usually talk about playing for. You mentioned Chasing the Sun. Well, you've seen that speech in Chasing the Sun where he says, will you die for your country? You will not die for your country. They weren't dying for their country on that.
Well, that's why I mentioned the intercept. Like, you don't throw that pass. I think because of the start, they were a little bit careless. And then when the game turned, they were like, holy dooly, like, we're not going to chase this down. Like, the missed tackles, like, Jorgensen just went like that. Like, I mean, he'd do it to me, I get it. Like, but
Tom Wright's try.
Tom Wright's try. Like, these guys, they're the best in the world. They don't miss tackles like that.
I'll be very interested to see if they're going to keep this DNA of being able to hold on to the ball and being able to build pressure and build phases like we've seen with the attacking stats, or going back to more of a little bit conservative.
Say hello to Pollard this week.
So I think I even think Russie talked about it, that they actually felt they didn't kick a lot. Like the stat that I talked around, 6 kicks in the second half. I think they might be feeling that they played a little bit too much. So whether we go to an aerial game off Grant Williams, who did very well,
definitely played too much,
or they go back to that kind of contestable game, which they've been very, very good at.
Now we've had some pretty good questions come through from you regarding this game. I suppose the first one, and you referred to it before a little bit, Jipper, came from Gary van Heerden, obviously out of South Africa. It felt like the Australians had cracked the code. and we were caught flat-footed and wanting many times. It was hard to watch through the tears. So a clear-eyed analysis would be most welcome. When you talked about that bridge pass and how they reached that space and the way that they got around the rush D, did they crack the code? And what can we learn from what the Wallabies did in their attack, breaking that?
No, I think it was a lot of the build-up of it. Like I made a joke of the tip ball and them getting smashed. Like they just orchestrated it really well and adjusted on the run. Like they didn't go away from the tip ball. They just became a little bit more, I suppose, carry first mentality and waited for that option to open up. I think all the disciplined, O'Connor and Wright were connected always with the pods.
Yep.
So that's a big thing. Like sometimes 10s switch off and they're looking out here and the pod's happening here and defenders are like, well, he's not getting it. Bang, they just not, like O'Connor just never switched off. Like he was always engaged, he was always directing and the threat of him is what drew out the defence for the tip, but then the decision making. So it's not like they cracked the code, they just executed the picture the defence gave them. And that's not easy to do in rush D because you normally shut down your own time and space. But they held their feet, they held their nerve even when they got smashed behind the gain line. And I suppose they had nothing to lose. And I think the bridge pass to Jorgensen is that could have been intercepted very easily, but it was just given. Yep. So, they were almost given a free licence to go do it, and it came off. I think we all know what the code is to break down rush D, but it's the ability to execute it under less time and pressure. And you just can get frazzled. And, I think they could have easily got frazzled by that tip when Wilson got smashed, but they didn't go away with it, to credit to them. But they also then went to Skelton a lot to try and muscle to then go back to that. So I think it was more those decisions and the way they were patient at looking at it the 80 minutes. Like for a leadership group, take beating the rush D aside, to compose themselves at 22-0 down, 17 minutes in, like far out, that's impressive.
And in South Africa.
In that cauldron.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the most impressive thing to me. Like they made the best decisions and executed well on attack and they were great at reacting on turnover ball. They had superior fitness, but how they kept the belief and the focus to just turning up to the plan. We've made the plan, let's keep at it, we'll keep at it, and then slowly wear it down that is massive and such a big statement for Harry Wilson, who was questioned as the captain. He has, sent a big message, and as is O'Connor, he's just, he's back.
That comes back to everybody knowing their role, being really clear and being able to be really decisive around the pitches, the water in front of you, and then be able to execute. You're not always going to get it right, but I know as a player, and Jip, you can probably test this as well, when you're clear around everything in terms of like what your role is, you're going to get the best performance of yourself to execute under pressure.
I found it really interesting with the All Blacks, and let's switch tack to the All Blacks now. When they were under pressure, and when Argentina was coming back at them, they did exactly the same thing. They reverted to type like they did in that French third test, Jipper, where it was just, okay, we're going back to the forwards.
Yeah. And I think that was the thing I liked the most. Like, I've heard a lot of people go, oh man, only 2 line breaks. But the way they played, they didn't need line breaks. If you can find the space on the edge, you find the space on the edge. Through the tactics, like, they had 65% gain line through carries. Again, like massive effort from the pack to just do that. 27% dominant carries, 50% lightning quick ball. These are all stats that, can generate line breaks, but most of the time it is trying to draw in defence to then force them to rush. And if Will Jordan can do a nice little right foot step and go through, great. Or if he can give his flick pass to, one of the best finishers in world rugby, Severis, great as well. It's not a line break, but, like they just were methodical, and it reminded me, like, say when the Blues were up in Christchurch, I think we're up like 24-3 against the Crusaders, and there's 20-odd minutes to go. They just said, we're going to the corner, we're going to our forwards. That's what it looked like. It was like the forwards just said, hold on, we've got this. They went through their maul, they went through their scrum, they built pressure through penalties, kicked into the corner, and that it's like you knew what was coming.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop it.
Even when Jordan broke, it was, Kirifi coming off the side, giving it to Artie, who went on a massive belter of a run up the middle. It was reverting back to that bang, bang, bang.
Punching behind.
Yeah.
And then no time to recover. And then you do have to credit the decision makers, like a Will going, OK, it's on for me now. It's on to give it. That's when they show their gold and not trying to overplay. Like, the pitch is there, let's just execute.
And I think that's where we've kind of seen from that French series, we talked around the backs being able to swing together and being able to pull trigger when they see their picture. Like, you look at those examples of Sevu's try, they've done that very well. But then they've got a really nice balance with our forward pack to be able to go through the grunt work. If we feel like we're not getting that, we can go to our grunt work, being able to go through the middle, being able to win collisions. And I think our line out more was really good in that second half. Like, if you look at when Billy Proctor got sent off, very, very simple. Let's go to our line out more, let's build pressure. Like, I think it was actually for Tokiaho's first try. They had 3 line-out penalties, being able to build pressure, get into the 22 from being able to win line-outs and being able to get ill discipline from the Argentinians. So it was very methodical in terms of like finding a way with the forward pack and being able to build pressure. And with that yellow card, they were able to do that with the line-out more in the forwards.
And I think particularly in the 22, like, you've got to admire Bodie's smarts to let Cortez run the cutter. Like, just Sevu's try before half-time, like, Cortez was just in, give. You know, like, they weren't looking to run anything off 10 or, you know, if it came, it would have been a hot call, but you just knew they were eventually going to get there. And it was, you know, I thought Cortez was so good, like, really fantastic. Good. Like, you know, to the point that it's, you know, he still wants a 9 jersey, and he's made the first step in making that massive statement. And it was great to see him just, you know, have that licence to actually be the guy. And Manny was the guy, and he was outstanding. Yeah.
I thought it was his whole round game, the things that we kind of touched on, his kicking game in terms of the exits was a lot better. Being able to, whether it was in the 22, be able to kick a nice long and out, a couple of good contestables, some really good snipes early in that first half, and then being able to, I guess, pull trigger for Sevu for that bridge pass, or not a pass that was hit the ground and then they score. But yeah, I think just collectively in his core roles, he was very, very good on the weekend. So yeah, I think he's competitive and he'll be able to want that number 9 jersey. But I think, you know, for him, confidence-wise, it'll be massive for him to get that result against Argentina.
And it led to 6 out of 8, 75% accuracy in the 22.
Yeah,
that's gold standard.
Yeah.
You know, that's immaculate sort of stuff, you know, like, that's taking your opportunity and just being ruthless about it. You know, there are probably 2 areas they'll look at is, you know, RG had 60% lightning quick ball and they only had the 1 breakdown turnover. You know, you think of that loose forward trio, they'll want more than that. They'll really want to, 1, slow that ball down, but 2, you know, get a few more turnovers. And then, you know, early they went to the contestable kicking game and just still trying to find a solution. Yeah. I think Will mentioned it during the week. It's a key work on that they're trying to work on. So you can expect, I suppose, RG to go back there. But, you know, I know they came back in the start of the second half, but it was never, I don't know, I never felt, there's a real confidence in that pack. To go to that pack under pressure is, it's a thing of beauty, Rob. It's a thing of beauty.
What I am liking as well, and I know that defensively there were a few lapses in terms of being able to score points off it, but if you look at how many times they were able to, for Argentina to step back in with that high line speed, where there was a loose forward out on the edge, it's a lock, or it's a winger that's out of that position. They'd shown some really good defence in terms of being able to put line speed pressure. So going up against a South African team or an Australian team that want to play on top of you, I've been really impressed with the line speed pressure that they've been putting on.
Fantastic point, because they had 8% dominant tackles, which is very high. And then rather than the breakdown turnovers, they caused 6 tackle turnovers, so impact, forcing turnover. You know, like, probably those are the areas where they didn't have the breakdown stats, but actually in the collision area they were forcing those errors. So that line speed pressure is massive, and staying high on the inside and absolutely poleaxing players is you know, getting the job done again, both sides of the ball. On
the flip side, the line speed pressure that Argentina brought did create Britain some difficulties for the All Blacks backline through to the midfield. What is the best way for them to work around that? Or did we see that with them just going, okay, we're not going to go that way?
I think so. Like, and that's what impressed me, is like there were some errors or handling issues early, but they almost simplified it and just said, look, this works. We know it works. Let's just go to it. And that's what I mean. Like, it wasn't, again, rocket science. It's not rocket science to beat Rushdie. You know that there's going to be space somewhere. You've just got to be able to have the ability to, you know, feel like you've got time and space to execute.
And they also did try a lot of attacking kicks, being able to, do a little cut play. Beauden Barrett put in a couple of kicks to be able to find a bit of space. So they were seeing kick space to be able to try and nullify that line speed pressure. So to that point of being able to win the physicality battle is a really important thing to be able to get people to go back. But then I think staying animated and engaged in your attack is really important. But then also being able to, change the backfield of being able to get attacking kicks, what we saw with Beauden Barrett.
That's one question I put down watching both the games. Is the short kicking game the new contestable? I know there's still contestables, but Aussie really, they were a little bit too far at times, but they really looked to execute and bring that backfield, I suppose, forward to open up your 50-22s and so forth. But, so did the All Blacks. And then not to make it about NPC, but you saw the ability of Josh Jacob to execute for Taranaki, the amount of, and Daniel Rona. But again, it just seems like there's a changing narrative away from once it gets to 10 of going to the heavens and really utilising that kick space and behind, because so many defences now are using their nines in the line. Yeah. And if you don't read it well enough, or you don't have someone dropping or covering, there's acres of space, you get a good bounce. Yeah,
and I think also as well, because you've got two in the backfield, the middle of the field is on, especially if there's a defender. Nick White was on the edge for a lot for the Australians. Sometimes Faf de Klerk, earlier part of the South African last year or even the years before, would come into the line. So that middle field of the space that we've seen, I think Beauden Barrett's in a couple to Will Jordan against Australia, being able to find the middle of the field. So I think that attacking kick and seeing the space is really important in seeing it.
And remember against RG after the loss in Wellington, that was a big play of theirs at Eden Park, kicking behind in wet conditions. And I just think it's something that, it's interesting from my point of view, analysing. There does seem to be a changing of the guard around what happens. Even when Nick White was from a bunter play, he put a little tops kick in out. It just seems that, teams are saying they want to utilise that space now that nines are more in the line. Yeah. Man, the competitiveness between coaches and innovation and evolution of thought. You do get the feeling like the copying's not happening. I feel like every coach wants to be the innovator, be first. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, because sometimes what you can get in club competitions is everyone plays the same way, and it really does come down to one or two plays that will define who wins the tight contest. Whereas I don't think it's it's different styles. Styles make fights, and there are different styles being played out there.
Now, we caught up with Du'Plessis Kirifi a couple of weeks ago. He obviously had a really good test on the weekend, 80 minutes, 13 tackles, hit 40 rucks, 7 carries, absolute weapon. So we caught up with him a couple of weeks ago to talk to him about, I suppose, his journey to the All Blacks, which took its time. He's a more senior player than your average person who comes into the team, about what he learned along the way, and also a little bit about his time on the Barrett farm as a kid. Well, awesome to welcome onto the show, Du'Plessis Kirifi. Du'Plessis, welcome. We are huge fans of yours. We've been talking about it for ages. Jibba particularly gets up at 5 a.m, gets into the gym every morning.
I'm chasing his quads.
Leg day stuff,
I'm chasing his quads. Yeah. He knows, though. I said, how many phone calls you got? You're close. Now he's made it. How does it feel, mate? I know how hard you've worked. Everyone knows how hard you've worked, but the energy you've put into it, you must be feeling pretty special now going into the Rugby Championship.
Yeah, cheers, boys, for having me on. Awesome feeling and experience, I guess, obviously being named and then being lucky enough to play. Just really grateful for all the support. Obviously, you noted our conversations over the years, and being able to play at home in front of family and friends was really special, as well, as I know, a lot of players make their debut overseas. So for it to be easy for a lot of my circle and my family and friends to be there was an awesome part of the journey.
Awesome. One of the things we love about you is your energy, on the field, off the field. Is that means that that's just part of you, or is it something you've built up over time?
No, it's part of me. I've actually had to build it down,
hold it back,
I would say, over time. You know what it's like. When you're young, you're just trying to show everyone how good you are, and no one actually really cares about how good you are. They just want to see how hard you can work. So I learned that the hard way when I was a young man. Had to tone the energy down a little bit, and yeah, over the last years, it's definitely been an area of growth for me around not just being white noise, but how can that be an effective tool for myself and my teammates? Sometimes in the heat of the moment. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but yeah, I've definitely had to learn to channel it in the right direction and not just be a foghorn.
Can I talk to you about your leadership though? Because it is a growth in your game that has sort of shone through. I mean, the amount of texts I had from overseas television colleagues wanting to wish you well. And I think if you look at when you guys lost in Canberra and the way you spoke about, the community and what you play for and bringing the Hurricanes fans with you is very authentic and people are attracted to it. Is that something that just comes naturally, or have you really worked at the way you articulate your, I suppose, gratitude?
Great question. Usually what I'm talking about is authentic. So, if I'm talking about the community or I'm acknowledging the other team, that's actually how I feel, which I guess leads into me always just trying to be, authentic and true in how I talk and honest, and not give, I guess, the cliches or the stereotypical post-game spiels. And often when you lose, you're actually extremely disappointed. So sometimes that comes out in how you talk. But I think as long as you, are gracious in defeat and speak openly and honestly about the game or the opposition, it's going to come across in a great way, in a relatable way. And I guess that's just something that I've tried to achieve when I speak after games. And obviously it's a bit easier to talk when you win because you're a little bit happier. But I guess it's a skill to be able to talk well and be humble and acknowledge everyone, both sides of the ball when you win and lose. But that's such a small part of my leadership. It's just a little bit at the end of the week after all the work's done and the game's finished that, jump in front of the mic sometimes.
What does it look like during the week if you sort of peel it back? Because the Wellington Lions, man, looks like they would go to war for you 3 times a day the Hurricanes have probably trended in the same direction this year. I know there was 4 skippers, but you were sort of the main on-field leader. How do you bring a group of men together?
You noted the 4 captains. The other 3 will say exactly the same thing. You've got to lead by example. There's got to be the be-all and end-all, really. Actions, how you carry yourself, your habits throughout the week. And then all the other little things come on top of that. But you just got to lead by example with what you do every day, the things that everyone sees all the time. And not just in pockets, not here or there or when you're feeling good. Because sometimes the last thing you want to do is be the example after a tough loss. But that's probably the most important time to lead and I guess be the teammate that you want other teammates to be. So that's what all 4 of us try to achieve. And then with Wellington, just the same, surrounded by great leaders, Brad Shields, Jackson, Jules, boys who have been there for a long time, longer than I've been there, because they're really old. But just people who are born and bred Wellington, who love the province and would do anything for it. So to be surrounded by those guys is I'm really fortunate to learn off them and grow alongside them.
Mm. That kind of clarity that you have in your approach, does that really help you when you get into the All Blacks scenario? Because you come in as a more junior player, not the senior leader, but that clarity gets you to where you need to be.
The plus side of me coming in a little bit older, not too old, is having the experience from getting my weeks right or my habits right or my prep right with the Hurricanes and the Lions and various other teams over the years. So feeling confident in how I prep myself for a game and what my week looks like has definitely helped me, pick up, I guess, the new workload that's involved of being in the All Blacks. It's definitely a lift in intensity, a lift in speed, a rise in detail. So that definitely helps having a little bit of experience in my back pocket. But it's no mean feat. It's a beast going into the All Blacks, and it's not a lot. The magnitude of the amount of work that we do, and it's not lost on me at all.
They say, obviously, you are a product of your environment. How important has your partner been? Obviously, a professional athlete as well. just having that sort of focus, both of you, to be representing your country?
I genuinely wouldn't be here if it wasn't in a large part to do with her. Yeah, we've been together ages now, but yeah, I was all over the show when we met, and she like challenged me in a lot of ways to be better and grow up pretty much. So extremely thankful for the part that she's played in my journey. But yeah, we just support each other, as much as we can. And a cool part about what we do is being able to understand the challenges that come with each other's jobs, but also being able to support each other through those. And I've just been trying to catch up to her for a while because she's obviously been a silver fern for a few years. So yeah, but proud moment for both of us, and always in each other's corner, good or bad.
Part of growing up, I suppose, for you is being in the Naki, and we've seen videos of Geordie talking about the two of you going through school together and rugby team together. He also mentioned that you spent a bit of time on their farm. What was that like? Does Smiley run a pretty strong operation there? Yeah,
went to Francis Douglas in New Plymouth, and a lot of the boys are boarders, so they live like half an hour up the road, and Geordie was one of them. But yeah, any weekend after rugby or holidays, I'd end up just out there on someone's farm, milking the cows and yeah, doing all sorts. Smiley runs a tight cutter, and when he's not there, far out. Yeah, no, it was an awesome experience for me, obviously growing up in the city, just to spend time out there in rural Taranaki, and a lot of fond memories. Not sure if I can say. But yeah, health and safety wasn't too big of a priority back when we were kids. But yeah, fond memories out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it amazing to see the four boys, all of you now, the Kane did well as well. You've done well. The other three, Barretts and the All Blacks with you, have done well. Was it amazing to see the progress of all of them? Have you followed it closely, and did you see that it was coming?
You could always see the Barretts doing well. I guess with Kane, like he set the precedent and kept the New Zealand schools, 20s, went on to play for the Blues, and then all the boys just followed suit. But not just them, there's a lot of boys from our school who've done well over the years, and to see the likes of, Rika Riccatelli, Taorangi Walden, Jacob Netkins, that's just to name a few, to go on and represent Francis Douglas and New Plymouth or Taranaki really well has been awesome, and to be a part of that kind of group, to have come from our small, humble school in the corner of New Plymouth, is pretty special.
Now, one of the things Chips always likes to talk about on our show is winning races. Like, he's all about winning races.
Win races.
Yeah.
Rugby.
Tell us what it is that you look for to win a race.
To a ruck?
Yeah.
As we all know, it's been a work on of mine, especially in the earlier days. Like I'd give away a few penalties, and it wasn't due to. It was because I would look at a picture and be like, I can get that, even though realistically it was like a 20% chance, if you know what I mean. So being able to like adjust that picture or that percentage in my head to only go for the ones that are like definites has helped a lot, and that's helped clear the picture up for me. But yeah, I'm just looking for space, like literally 2 seconds. If their cleaner's been checked off, if the guy inside me has made an amazing chop tackle and put him on the ground straight away, just little cues, or areas on the field as well. If it's out wide, a winger or a fullback might be isolated, or they might not be isolated, but the guy trying to clean me out's half my size. So there's heaps of things that you can take into account, but just trying to be as accurate as possible and not bring any more pressure onto the team by making a wrong decision.
Du'Plessis Kirifi, he's a lesson in what it is to persevere, keep on trying. Eventually you'll get to your goals in rugby, and you can get to your goals as well. If you, a family member or friend, needs to get into rugby shape, we have the giveaway that will supercharge them for this season. Along with All Blacks trainer Dr. Nick Gill's Rugby Ready team, we're trying to get the rugby community, whether you're a player or fan, fit and strong. Each week, one winner will receive 4 weeks of free access to the Rugby Ready Perform membership, with full access to all of Dr. Nick Gill's pre-season, in-season, off-season and specialty programs to help take your game to the next level. Congratulations to this week's winner, Max Luch. You've scored 4 weeks of free access to the Rugby Ready Before membership. Max says he's an average guy from Belgium, lacing up again for one final time at 36 years old after a couple of years out with concussions, life and work. He's ready to see what's left in the tank and get the best out of his body. Thanks again to everyone who entered. We loved reading your stories, and if you don't win this time around, don't worry, you're still in the running, so keep those amazing submissions coming, and it could be your name we announce next week. Want in? It's simple. Just DM Rugby Ready on Instagram with the code ARP and tell them why you'd love to win. And of course, if you miss out, you can get 75% off memberships through ARP by going to the link or using the QR code below. The Women's Rugby World Cup starts this weekend in England. Plenty to look out there, starting with the English, who are obviously hot favourites and at home to win this against the USA. New Zealand's first game is up against Spain on Monday morning, New Zealand time. Now, they shouldn't lose that game at all. They do have Ireland in their pool in a few weeks' time, and that's the one that they'll be aiming for. Before they left, we caught up with co-captain Kennedy Tukuafu about what the team has learned since winning the Rugby World Cup in 2022 and what it will take to defend it this time.
3 years ago, we'd just come off the back of that end-of-year tour. We had the professor come in, and for a start, he was just a mentor for our coaches. And then, whatever happened, he ended up being our director of rugby. And it took a lot for us to try and gain some confidence and build. But the rest is history in that sense. For this one, it's a little bit different. We've been coming together for camps. You look at our campaign in the Super Rugby, some of us have only played like just maybe 10 games this season. So it's a different build-up, but I have so much confidence in the way we've been preparing. Physically, we're in a great place. Everybody's, hitting PBs. And then, I think all we need to do now is make sure that our off-field connection matches our on-field connection. So it's really important to us that we, find joy in everything, and then making sure we're squared away and we're nailing the little 1%ers to make sure that we are sharp when we get on field.
Man, there seems to be an intensity of game level coming out of training with the amount of black eyes going about.
I think we had maybe 5 black eyes in the last 2 weeks as we were assembled, and that just goes to show everyone's, effort and heart and put their bodies on the line and really secure the ball and make those big hits.
The dojo, I think it's been used a little bit. Is that Steve Jackson? Is that the reason why he likes to bring everyone old school and being able to just grit your teeth and bite down in the mouthguard and kind of just get into it?
All those words is exactly what they say to us. Look it in the room. All right, warm yourself up. And you go off, warm yourself up. All right, come in. What happens in the dojo is we just break down those little skill sets. So one-on-one tackles, just making sure we get our body height nice and low, and then we drive through, and then we build it up, we ramp it up. And ends up just being a pub fight. And
it is full noise.
Full noise.
And all it takes, even in the warm-up, honestly, all it takes is someone to cop one on the chin when they didn't expect it, and its gloves are off. It is just 0 to 100 at great speed.
You're speaking from experience.
That's the girls.
I think you're speaking experience off on that one.
Yeah, I think everyone knows I've got a short wrist, so it doesn't take much for me to lose my rag.
And it also comes down to giving it 100 so that, you don't hurt each other. Because if someone's at 100, someone's at 50, it's just not going to end well. So even when we come into trainings, it's like, okay, we're at level 2, and then it just ends up being level 3. But if the girls are keen to go there, then we just go with it.
So who's the person that's always a hundy? Because there's always one that's a test match trainer. Who would that be?
Oh man, I couldn't even. There's too many. Someone I could throw out there is probably Tanya. Yeah, Tanya.
In terms of, we're talking about all this preparation, and a lot of the conversation with the sevens players that have now sort of transitioned back into 15s, the way they've spoken about the lift and standards and professionalism in the 15s game, you must be incredibly proud to hear that coming from them.
They are some incredible athletes themselves. They've come from many successes, and what they bring over to our environment is just like determination to nail their role, to be, pretty much to be better than everyone else, which is the mindset of all the girls. But yeah, I'm glad that that's how it feels for them. They've come in, like even Kelly Brazier, when she speaks, she always talks about how, you've got to prepare like you're preparing for a test every day. So got to be ready, yeah.
I think watching the 22 World Cup, you girls had an absolute unbelievable mindset running the ball from everywhere. Like watching that 22, like you'd run from your 5 metre line and been able to go 20, 30 odd phases, and very, very tiring, but it succeeded. But I guess watching you girls since that World Cup, you've tried to innovate and been able to try evolve your game, and there's obviously a lot more kicking now that we've seen from a lot of your players. Has that been something that's come natural, or are we going to see more of the attacking ability that we saw in that 2022 World Cup? Or
yeah, probably that hybrid evolution. Like, we were really brave in 21, and it came off. So I think we're just trying to mix it up. We don't want to play in the wrong, in our 5 or in our 22 too long, because that's when the likes of England, France can capitalise on those things. Make a mistake, they go straight to the maul. But again, we've got such talented kickers, like say Brax, for example. She's, and I said this to her, so it's not going to be, but she's quite a small person, but she has such a big boot. So using things like that, trying to catch the opposition off guard, because they wouldn't expect it, or I didn't.
Yeah.
And then, getting ourselves in the right areas so we can use the rest of our toolkit, I guess. Our driving more's gotten heaps better. And then playing in the right areas so we can just put points on and relieve some pressure. That would be ideal.
The talking point for almost all the fans, I know we put a post out with Georgia Miller in it showing her highlights, and it went absolutely gangbusters because she is just something else. Having her come into your loose forward mix and seeing what she does, do you sometimes in awe? What do you think when you see her doing her thing?
A freak of nature, but yet she is still the most down-to-earth person you'll ever meet. In terms of her performance, it's funny because Stacey actually takes her aside and makes her try and boot her one-on-one, and something hasn't gotten her yet. So, Georgia is just a different beast. She's incredible to work with as well, because she will just go all day. What she's added to our loose forward trio is just that effort piece, and she'll take everybody with her. So it's a tough space to compete in the loose forwards, but it's great for every one of us.
You also talked around a connection piece being a big part of going on a tour and being able to, I guess, connect with the girls and whatnot. What does it actually look like? Well, when you're away from training, what does that look like for you girls in terms of that connection piece and trying to keep things lighthearted when you're overseas?
So we just either meet in the team room, play board games, or we do recovery together, or we go out for a coffee. And it's just building those small relationships. We've had like a buddy system where you just get to know the person that our mental skills pairs us with. And he tends to pair us with someone who's exactly alike. So you just have to figure out why or what attributes you share. I guess other than that, outside of that, it's just having dinner together. Lots of little things. But then the most fun we have is obviously on field.
What board games are you guys playing in camp?
The one that everybody seems to love is Chameleon and Sequence.
What are those?
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, Sequence, it's just, a board game, and you've got to try and get a run of 5, and you've got to get 2. And you'll always know if it's being played because you'll hear either Aisha or Lou. It gets real competitive, actually.
Yeah. And so who is the person in the squad who's like, the TJ Pettinato, the person who just is hard out competitive in all of those things more than anyone else?
Aisha.
Look how easy that was. That came out quick.
Ask any of the girls, it'll be her.
Does she raise the stakes with food money and so forth?
They put their cards in the middle, like... It goes far. They've got like a winner's a leaderboard. Sorry, they put their names up in the team room, and for everyone to see. Yeah, there's exactly.
Bragging rights. Well, we're hoping that you're going to be at the top of the leaderboard come the World Cup. So good luck with the next couple of weeks of preparation and that first up game against Spain. I hope it all goes well.
Thank you, team. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
So, the Black Ferns, a couple of games before they get to Ireland, and that's when it really heats up for them. They've got to win that game. If they don't win that game and they come out of their pool in second place, that's where they'll face France in the quarters and England in the semis. They need to be on the other side of the draw, knowing that they lost to Ireland 2 years ago, and they lost to Ireland 2 World Cups ago at a World Cup. There's plenty going on there, Jip. When you look at this team and what they're trying to achieve, do you feel they're on track to beat Ireland this time around in a few weeks' time, that these next couple of games will have them primed for that?
Yeah, I definitely do think, like, if you are to win this World Cup, like, one, we probably shouldn't fear that side of the draw, but I think you've got to beat Ireland, and you're gonna face those teams, whoever it is, if you get all the way through. It's crucial, I think, just because it's like Kennedy made reference to it, and I've heard it through a number of sort of other interviews with the coaching group, is around, time in the saddle together. And I think the interesting thing I'm looking is, are they just going to pick a 23 and they stick with it? That's what I'm interested to say. Okay, we need some cohesion, we need some real runs on the board together, and they're just honest with the squad. This is the top line 23. You will fill gaps if there are injuries. Other than that, we have to approach it that way, or they think they've got enough out of their trainings that they can rotate players through that pool play. I'm just interested from that aspect, taking out of the interviews what they've sort of said around, my gut says they're going to be not chopping and changing, and they're just going to go after it.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things for them, Bryn, is that it's very rare, and very few of these players would have spent 6 weeks in camp overseas with the Black Ferns doing something like this.
Yep.
So how important is it to make sure that you've got familiarity, like what Jip is saying, when you know that everything else around you is quite unfamiliar in that way?
Yeah, but there's also a good thing about that, being away for 6 weeks on tour, being able to have meetings, being able to collectively be with players all the time, being able to communicate around what rugby is in terms of being able to be away from home. It's actually really, really nice sometimes. And I think if they aren't going to go that strong 23 and go as long as they can with them, I think the spine in terms of really important positions, I think that's where we'll see the players that we'll see collectively, well, not collectively, a lot more than probably the others. So, but I think being away for 6 weeks on tour, I think it's a good thing for them. So, yeah, I can't see it being a problem for them, unless obviously you do play in England, or someone has a good support at the home, being able to go against that. But yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I totally agree, Bryn. Like, especially when you're going after something as big as this, living in each other's pockets is a good thing, because you've just got so much opportunity to fine-tune your code. You still need to single out certain moments to go do other things, but you just have so much opportunity because you have so much time together to really find out, in terms of your best possible preparation.
Rightio. Well, let's go to the big one then. Will Bryn Hall, the Oracle, pick Australia to beat South Africa again this week?
No, I won't. I'll be picking South Africa. I think with the way that the dog shit comment that probably Rusty said, it'll be a very, very hard review, and I think we're going to see a very strong, very, very strong South African team getting the job done. Close game though. Yep. I think it's proven with how the Australians have played against the Lions, and even the game on the weekend, even though they won quite a big margin, I think it'll be a lot closer. But South Africa.
I'll stick with South Africa.
Yeah. You can't see it happening any other way.
Oh, gosh, I've copped some heat. I don't think a lot of people could see that happening.
No, that was a fair enough take.
I think South Africa bounced back.
Imagine that 0-2, and then you got to come to New Zealand for 2 test matches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a must-win.
Right. Is there anything in what you saw from Argentina that makes you think that they're going to get up in Buenos Aires and beat the All Blacks?
No. I think one area that they did very, very well was the contestable games. Like, I think it's a big part. It's a big part, yeah. I think if they can get that right, it's an area that the All Blacks have been trying to work on. They know it's coming, but I feel like if they can win that kind of, not negative rugby, but if they can kind of get it into an arm wrestle of contestables and their set piece holds up and they take the opportunities like they did against the British and Irish Lions, when they have the opportunities, they do have a chance, but I think the All Blacks will be too good.
I think it suits them. Like, it's opportunist rugby, I'd say. Like, you know, because the bounce the ball or bobble here and it's sort of helter-skelter for about 5 seconds where they can take advantage of it. But no, I'll still be backing the All Blacks for 13 plus.
Yeah. There we go. It's going to be another good Sunday morning this weekend. Really looking forward to seeing it again. Thank you so much for joining us on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Of course, send us an email, send us your comments in the comments section, aotearoarugbypod@sky.co.nz. Big thank you to Ashley and Martin Medical Hair Centres for supporting the show, and also big thanks to all of the crew who help us put this together every single week. We'll catch you next week. Mā te wā.